Hi, I'm Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Wednesday, September the 21st. News was made yesterday at the state capitol. A legislative committee said that they're going to put a cap on the amount of money that regional mental health centers are reimbursed for group therapy for their patients. There was figures presented to that committee that the state of Arkansas spends more money than 8 southern states combined on psychotherapy. My own sources tell me that this figure is misleading, that the states account the money differently, and if you compare the states, the difference is far less than the legislators heard yesterday. But we know this much about mental health care in Arkansas. For better than a half a century, the entire time I've been in Arkansas, the state has not done enough for the mentally ill. Mental illness is a health condition just as much as cancer is. We don't spend enough on it. We've been sued repeatedly because of the abject conditions that we submit mentally ill to in our treatments. The state hospital can't handle all the patients, so we developed a system in which regional centers have taken on the job of being residential facilities for a lot of the people who'd otherwise be on the streets. We know we save $20 for every dollar we spend on health care because that money otherwise would go to criminal incarceration, a lot of these people. The problem is this: we may need to change the reimbursement system. We may be coding things inaccurately on reimbursing mental health centers, but we still need to provide the care. There seems to be some strong interest on the part of legislators, Charlie Collins of Fayetteville particularly. Whenever they have a chance to cut a program, they'll cut a program. Well, if we cut the program and we don't do something about providing treatment to the people who are now getting it, there's going to be an awful lot of misery dealt on the streets of Arkansas, and that's just wrong. It's false economy any way you look at it. Let's move on elsewhere to false economies. I learned this morning that the state of Arkansas, with Governor Asa Hutchinson's approval, is going to give a full-time job to a 73-year-old formerly retired physician, James Bledsoe, to head the trauma effort of the state health department. The backstory on this is his wife is a state senator, his son is a state surgeon general. Altogether, the Bledsoe family makes maybe $500,000 in pay and other benefits from the state of Arkansas. He's going to supposedly take over for a private foundation from which the health department has removed money. Leslie Peacock reported on this for the Arkansas Times. It's been doing a great job in providing education to doctors in trauma. A single man can't do all the work the foundation did. He'll have to get some other help to do it too. There perhaps could be some savings there, but putting another retired doctor on the payroll because he happens to be a well-connected Republican seems like a funny way to achieve economies. I have to note that Cecile Bledsoe is a budget hawk. She's fought government spending on Obamacare every time she's had a chance. She fought spending money on state money on maternal health leave for state employees. But charity does begin at the Bledsoe home, obviously. News on medical marijuana. A so-called expert came to town for the Chamber of Commerce Farm Bureau effort to beat the medical marijuana petitions yesterday. He put out a lot of bad myths about how Marinol, a prescription drug, is a good substitute for marijuana. It's not. They raised the specter of edible marijuana somehow reaching young people, when in fact it's just a good delivery system for older people who don't smoke. But more than that, we've learned that somehow marijuana is bad because it's a plant and not a medicine. Well, we have health food stores full of people selling plant items that do good, some better than others. Marijuana has proven benefits. The petition drive for the marijuana amendments has become an issue in court. There's hearings this week on whether signatures on a medical marijuana initiative campaign were sufficient. Interestingly, a paid for-profit gatherer of signatures, a person who was paid by the medical marijuana amendment campaign to gather their signatures, is testifying against the medical marijuana initiative campaign. It's too bad to see these forces split. Splitting the forces may divide and conquer both of them, and that would be a shame. Polls, by the way, show that Republicans nationally now are in favor of medical marijuana, something that is opposite the statements that we've heard from Republican politicians in Arkansas. On another amendment campaign, former Governor Mike Beebe, a popular figure in the state, has announced his opposition to the casino amendment that would allow 3 more casinos in Arkansas, where we now just have 2 at Oaklawn Park and Southland Park. It might be worth noting that Governor Beebe has a business association with a law firm and lobbying group that includes Oaklawn Park among its paid customers. Not that that would affect the governor, I'm sure. Sad news in Bentonville yesterday. They elected a new member to the school board, defeated an incumbent, Grant Lytle, who'd proposed a non-discrimination policy for the Bentonville School District. That set the religious right in motion, and it set off a scurrilous, anonymously financed mail campaign to beat Lytle, and it used pictures of President Obama, said he favored boys and girls bathrooms, all the usual tripe you hear from the religious right about equity for gay people. Equity in gay people, for gay people in Bentonville clearly is not popular in that particular district on the school board. I suspect it's reflected elsewhere in the community. It certainly is in its legislative delegation. It's too bad. There's a lot of good things happening in Bentonville, but the political climate's not one of them. There was good news in Fort Smith school board elections. Two members were elected, one of them a black woman, I think it's worth noting, who were opposed by candidates who were unhappy about the change of mascots at Southside High School, getting rid of the rebel mascot and the rebel flag and all the other attendant old Civil War imagery. So there's good news there. Perhaps the Civil War is over in Fort Smith. It's not quite over with yet in Fayetteville. Students at the University of Arkansas have been agitating to get the Bikers Blues and Barbecue Festival to discourage display of the Confederate flag at the big biker rally that's held every year in Fayetteville. It's going to be this weekend. Thousands turn out. And yes, you couldn't very well have a biker rally without rebel flags any more than you can have one without a leather vest or beer, I think. The interesting thing is that the organizers of this drive, which have called for a boycott of the festival over their refusal to even talk about the rebel flag, tried to get a resolution out of the Student Government Association at the University of Arkansas that expressed displeasure at displays of racism in the Confederate flag. That brave body delayed things indefinitely. They don't want to vote on making a stand on the Confederate flag. Anybody who thinks colleges are full of liberal students these days perhaps ought to take a look at that. Maybe it's all those Texans that are going to the University of Arkansas now. That's all I've got today. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back tomorrow.